I have to say that video has been getting some currency lately, and I just want to take you back to that moment in that airport, knowing what was going on, knowing what you could and couldn't do, and what that was like for you in trying to handle that and manage that for Senator Harris.
Thanks so much for having me, Lawrence. It's an interesting time for that video to find new traction. It feels like it's come and gone, 2 or 3 times now since that incident actually occurred. And, what I recall so vividly is the women who the vice president was actually talking with and taking a picture with came up and just wanted to have their photo with the United States Senator. Now Representative Luna, she wasn't a representative at the time. Now Representative Luna seemed to not care that those regular, everyday people who don't get to see a United States Senator in the airport every single day, she thought that whatever it was that she wanted to talk about should supersede those women who had come to the vice president, then Senator, and I wanted to make sure that not only the Senator or Vice President Harris was able to engage those voters, but that she was actually able to be present with them. And it wasn't as if you heard in a video, that I was trying to prevent this woman from communicating with the vice president. But I was going to demand that she respected those folks who had gotten there and just wanted to have their photo taken. And so it's an interesting sort of recycling of this video. It reminded me the great work that the vice president did to introduce herself to so many American people, and the energy that is happening right now just was the sense of hope and aspiration was in the eyes of those folks who wanted to just take a quick picture.
So you were appointed to the Senate by Governor Newsom to fill out Senator Feinstein's term. So now you know what it's like to be the senator in that kind of moment. I'm hoping that your airport experiences are more pleasant than that. But I think I just spoke for you without checking with you when I said that you're not surprised by what you're seeing in the Harris campaign so far. And I'm saying that just because everyone I know in California who was watching Kamala Harris 15 years ago and beyond, none of them are surprised by what is so far, and this is pretty much universally agreed to, a flawless launch of that campaign.
Yeah, look, Lawrence, if she were in the Olympics, she'd be nailing the landing right now. She is executing at an incredibly high level. She is communicating clearly. The support that is being galvanized from every community across the country is exciting, energizing, and inspiring. But I think that your introduction really spoke for so many of us who've known and seen the greatness in Vice President Harris for many years. I probably was proximate to that very event, having started my relationship with her late 2009, early 2010, when she was the district attorney in San Francisco, running to be the state's attorney general. And there is nothing in this moment that is surprising to me. She is a person-centered, people-oriented public servant who cares about the future of this country and every family in it, no matter the size of your bank account, the language you speak in your home, or the zip code from which you come. Her job as a public servant is to center the needs, wants, and desires of government on behalf of those communities. And she is committed to that. She is fired up in so many great ways. It's those passions and dreams that really fuel her. So I join you in also not being surprised and excited for the rest of the country to be able to see the star that is Vice President Harris.
So I have to say, and I did say, I think Donald Trump is making the wise choice for him, which is also a cowardly choice, to refuse to debate Kamala Harris because it's as obvious. It's as obvious to Donald Trump as it feels obvious to me that he apparently believes he would not have a chance in a debate with Kamala Harris?
Look, the odds are up for grabs. I'm not a betting woman, but in this case, I definitely will put my bet on a trained, skilled prosecutor who, as she said, knows the type. She also is able to collect the facts, to orient her and make her case, and to convince the jury that she is speaking with. In this case, the jury is the American people. And the contrast and the facts could not be more clear. You have the former president who is advocating policies in 2020 and Project 2025 that would end Head Start, that puts Medicare and Social Security at risk, that jeopardizes women's ability to make decisions about their own bodies. And on the other side, you have a leader who is prepared to unite the American people and move us beyond a politics of hate and division, but towards a vision of shared economic prosperity where every family can thrive and to grow, to inspire young leaders into public service, to shepherd our climate initiatives in a way that preserves our planet, and to protect the right of women to make decisions about their own body. That is a case I believe she's prepared to make. And the American people, the jury in this trial, I believe, have the obvious facts in front of them.